Pakistan is very closely associated with Islam. After all, it is the Islamic Republic of Pakistan. However, this is a shadow of the secular genesis of the country. Pakistan was originally envisaged as a free and liberal democracy where minorities would be strongly protected. However, that hasn't come to fruition. I argue that the idea of Pakistan is very much adrift of what the original founder Muhammad Ali Jinnah had envisaged for the country. Recently, I went to a cricket match where Pakistan was playing India in the final of a major tournament. Of course, this rivalry is one of the fiercest in sport, and behind that is of course the history of India and Pakistan and how they emerged out of the British Empire in 1947. There are many tensions between Pakistan and India, but since its genesis, one of the major tensions has been that of religion. So, this came to my mind when an individual from the stands, upon Pakistan's victory in the cricket match, exclaimed, "Pakistan ke mane kya, la ilaha illallah." This literally translates to, "What is the meaning of Pakistan? There is no God but God." Now that is a link that I don't think that the founder of Pakistan, Jinnah, had envisaged initially. A link between the nation-state and religion. That notion is an affront to the ideal upon which Pakistan was founded. It would especially have Jinnah turning in his grave for a number of reasons. I realize that the notion of a secular Pakistan is quite hard to digest at first glance. And that's not just the case for outsiders, but also to many Pakistanis. And I think at the crux of the confusion, there lies a conceptual debate about Pakistan. The term Pakistan, after all, translates to the land of the pure in Farsi. This has quite nationalistic connotations. It implies that anything external to Pakistan was somehow impure. Perhaps that is why it's so difficult to grapple with issues of secularism and Pakistan. However, I think it's important to stress that Jinnah envisaged a country that was created for Muslims rather than a Muslim country. To his mind, the life of Indian Muslims was becoming inhabitable, and so his proposed solution was an alternative nation to that of India, emerging from the British Empire, that of Pakistan, consisting of Muslims to seek refuge and practice their way of life, but also being extremely accommodating to minorities, Sikhs, Christians, who also lived in that part of the world, and they would be free to go and worship as they willed. In fact, one of Jinnah's most famous quotes was, "You are free. Free to go to your temples, you are free to go to your mosques, or to any other places of worship in the state of Pakistan. That has nothing to do with the business of the state." That last phrase is especially important, because Jinnah was deeply secular. There was no role for mosques in the business of government to him. I should mention, the reason that I keep on mentioning Jinnah is that he is so central to the story of Pakistan. By all historical accounts, he single-handedly fashioned a nation without much political apparatus in his favour. So it's clear his views are crucial to the formation of Pakistan as an idea, as well as the country itself. Perhaps then it's no surprise that Jinnah's notion of a secular Pakistan came undone 1 year after the foundation of the country, following his death on September 11th, 1948. However, to fully understand this secular version, we have to apply a historical lens. Jinnah was one of the three main leaders in the Indian independence movement, the other two being Nehru and of course Gandhi. Originally, all three leaders were on the same side. Jinnah's primary political objective was Indian independence. He did not think India should have a foreign master, being Britain. This permeated the majority of his political career, and it was not until 1940 that he wholly subscribed to the idea of Pakistan as an independent country. In fact, even when he was a fully fledged member of the Muslim League, the founding party of Pakistan, there were serious doubts about his willingness to deliver a fully independent Pakistan, because of his previous interest in federalization. Perhaps that doubt was a foreshadowing for a country that has been trapped by contradictions such as that ever since. The idea or stereotypical notion that Pakistan was born out of Islamic zealotry is incorrect. It only became an Islamic republic in 1956. That is 9 years after its founding. However, in some ways, it is correct to say that Pakistan has been hijacked by the idea that nationality and religion are intertwined. This has come about for a number of reasons, but the most simple of which is that it's very easy to gain political capital this way. There is a great and sad irony which lies at the heart of Pakistan today. For Jinnah and many of his supporters and many Pakistanis even till today, the country was founded on the principle of religious refuge, where people would be able to practice their faiths without oppression. This sort of oppression is what Jinnah thought would arise in an independent India where there was no Pakistan. He thought that Muslims would be oppressed and their way of life would be hindered. Now the irony is that country, Pakistan, which was created for religious refuge and for freedoms, is now oppressing and is now oppressive to other faiths. And I think that is quite tragic and something that would have Jinnah turning in his grave. I fear to say that if he was alive, he may similarly pursue a state for the Hindus, Christians and Sikhs of Pakistan because of the treatment that they have to endure on a daily basis. The reason that this religious intolerance is perpetuated is because many political leaders within Pakistan are able to gain quick currency by heralding the name of Islam as their cause. But that is simply not what was meant to be. It was meant to be a secular democracy where religions would live side by side. It is important to remember that Pakistan is not homogeneous. There is definitely a long tradition of intellectual secularism, similar to Turkey, which is spearheaded by the military. In fact, many times there has been military intervention in the name of secularism. There is a notable example, of course, that of Zia-ul-Haq in the late 1970s and 80s. So it is important to stress that Jinnah, the founder of Pakistan until the Lahore Resolution of 1940, was seeking Muslim-Hindu unity. He was most vociferous about this in 1937, when he published the Muslim League Manifesto, which called for an independent and united India. However, once he came to the realization that he no longer subscribed to that notion, he did not want to seek a state that was inherently Muslim, but a state where people could practice religious freedom. In fact, similar to Ataturk in Turkey, Jinnah wanted to propel Pakistan into the latter half of the 20th century with all the utensils he thought the country would need. He wanted to raise the status of women, he wanted to implement universal education, and above all he wanted to implement a democracy that was tailor-made for the fabric of Pakistan. However, his ideals and principles have not always come to fruition. It is unfair to portray Jinnah as a solely altruistic and positive force. There are legitimate criticisms of his idea of a state for Muslims that isn't Muslim inherently. However, what is undeniably fair is that Pakistan has not stuck to its secular genesis and, in my opinion, has paid the price heavily.